Hi everyone, this is Yashika from BabyLedParenting, and today I'll be going live with Dr. Kaehalee Shinde. Of today, what we are having, we are basically talking about toddler tantrums today, and why do they behave like that? Okay, now next point that we will be discussing is about living in a joint family. We have in-laws with us. Baby is, kind of under influence of mama, dada, and grandfather, grandmother, or someone else also in the family. So sometimes there's a situation where if mother is trying to handle it and grandmother or grandfather they intervenes, or they say that it's okay if she's doing that, don't scold her, because they actually they love them to very there is no limit for their love for their grandchildren. So how to if is it like setting a bad example in front of child, or like how to deal with the situations, especially in our Indian society where you cannot say
Yes,
that
yes,
please don't intervene. We cannot like actually
yes.
say
So
that.
we don't want to say don't intervene, but we do want to maybe go to our in-laws and say that, hey, you are so important in our child's development. So, our child, right? Like get them on board, saying that you are so important, right? You are one of the pillars in making them. But this is what I'm trying to teach. So I'll give you a very simple example, right?
Okay.
I'm trying to do body conscious parenting. So I am trying. So since she was a baby, even for me, I used to say, hey, you want to come to me, right? Her father said the same thing, right? So I used to say that, don't say, ye ikde, like come, before you pick her up. Just get into the habit of saying, I know she can't give consent yet, but let's just get in the habit of asking her, before we do it, right? And then she went through the separation anxiety phase and she started saying no. So she didn't want to go to anybody, right? And everybody came and like, oh, like we don't want the baby to go to anybody, all that thing started, right?
Again,
So I,
Mabel baby is ziddi hai. She's always,
yeah.
she doesn't want to come to us.
Yeah. So which is why I sat them down, and one day I gave them information as to why I made that choice, right? And I told them regarding this is what is happening outside, with respect to teaching consent for my child, wo ladki hai, to be able to do that, we have to protect our baby, and this is how we do it, right? This is how, we are going to learn to do it. Now, unfortunately, some people may agree, some people may not agree, right? But I would say that at least your husband, at least a few people need to be on board to doing it. Because the thing about parenting is, if the child gets wrong input from one place, right? That if mama makes a rule, it can be ignored.
Oh, yes.
Rules can be ignored. If they get that, information from somewhere, they're going to want to give it up more. In such cases, a lot of times there is family counseling that is done, things like that. I know that those who are receptive kind of go into it. There are a lot of classes that happen, things like that, where, they're teaching everybody together as to how to do it. But a lot of times, if there are some things which you as a mother feel downright important and feel that, no, this needs to be done, then we want to be assertive and put our foot down, saying that this is how I want it to be done. Right? I'm making a call for him. Maybe you won't understand it right now, but you will understand when he or she turns out to be this way. But I would really appreciate if you respect this. If there is something that you can get on board with them, give them that importance, make them feel good so that they would want to be on your team as well. Right?
Yes.
I remember my father used to be, at a point and saying that, what are you doing? She's 3 months old, what are you doing? And after a point, I one day saw him explaining to another family member, oh, by the way, we're doing this because this is what she's going to learn. And that made me feel a lot better.
That actually has happened to me with this baby-led weaning thing. Like initially, I was being asked that she's not eating anything. You should be feeding her. She's very small. So kind of within these 6 months, they are seeing a lot of difference in her, eating skills, and they are actually seeing the difference between her and those babies who are being fed by their parents. They can see the difference in the personality also, that she is
Exactly.
actually, she's deciding for herself few things.
So that's one thing that is going to be a learning curve. So to a certain extent, we want to put our foot down and allow them to experience that, see, this is the reason why we're doing it. It is for their better. Second, we also want to give them an explanation, right? We want to understand that they are functioning in a way of whatever information they have. Right?
Yes.
They have brought kids up a certain way, right? And they don't have that knowledge. They don't have, and I feel that it was much tougher before. We have a lot of information on our hands, in our hands actually, in our phones. We are able to get all of this. They didn't have any of that. So maybe we want to at least try giving them the information that we have and say that, hey, this is what I read, this is how it works, and this is what I really try to do. And it's very important that you help me in this. Right? And you want to see how that works as well.
Okay. And sometimes, there was a question in that type of question that my daughter is learning to shout from her grandparents, because one of the grandparents is continuously shouting for all the things. So the child is also learning. So what to do in this situation basically, because they are not understanding when they talk about it. That
yeah. So that's the thing, unfortunately, children are going to mimic and learn, right? So this is how children learn. They watch you and learn. So, I have a lot of people say that, oh, my child is not listening to me. I say, don't worry if they're not listening to you. Worry that they're watching you. Right?
Correct.
They're not going to listen to you, but they're going to watch what you do, and they're going to do it exactly like that, right? So right now, let me tell you that the child thinks it's play, it's fun, it's he or she is imitating their grandfather, right? Now, if the child does do that in a specific setting, right? If they start screaming and exactly, so we want to know that behavior is really translating and being applied in other settings other than it being imitating the grandfather, right? So if that is happening, then when that happens, make it a teachable moment. If you try and teach something when it is not happening immediately, the child's brain is not going to understand. So for example, the child
with that.
Yeah. So if the child does something at lunch, maybe let's say he or she hits their sister or brother or something like that, and you say, hey, you do that, I'm not going to give you ice cream at night. They're not going to understand at night why I'm not getting ice cream right now. They don't have that concept, right? So which is why we want to do it immediately. Right? We want to have a consequence that maybe happens immediately. So we zoom out, we sit down, and we let them have that moment. We tell them that, oh, it's fun, no? When we look at our, how Dadu screams, like, and you can also do it. So, we say that, how does a lion roar? So we want to say, how does Dadu do? Oh yeah, so funny. But we shouldn't do it, na? It makes you, do you like when mama screams at you? Yeah, it doesn't feel good, no? When somebody screams at you, that's it. That should be a teachable moment, and allow your child to imbibe that over time. Okay, so maybe that's the way we want to go about it.
I have a lot to learn from you, I guess. I'll take a class from you. Okay, now next is that gender-based parenting. One of the, mom asked about that, whether you should be doing a different kind of parenting for a boy and different for a girl.
So the first thing is, I don't recommend any particular style of parenting, in the sense that I hate moms being told what they should be doing and they're not, because I don't like to be told what I should be doing, I shouldn't be doing. I think it's good to have a lot of information, and then parents can decide exactly how they want to parent their child. It is their prerogative, it is their children, right? But weighing the pros and cons, costs and benefits, I have an opinion that there shouldn't be any gender. There's no need for gender-based parenting, whether it is in terms of toys, whether it's in terms of how we feed them, how we approach disciplining them, anything like that, right? There are going to be some boys who are shy, who are calm. There are some girls who are going to be extremely boisterous, right? Out there, right? We want to look at our child for who he or she is, who they identify as being, and accept and see what is it that child needs, irrespective of their gender, right? So whether it is doing chores that you're teaching them, let your son hang out in the kitchen with you, remove the utensils, put them back in, let your son help you putting in the laundry. I believe in raising feminist boys as well as girls, right? I think there needs to be that goal. So I don't believe that there is any need for any gender based parenting differences.
Correct. Okay, now the most important, when we as a parent have an emotional outburst on our kids, now how to handle that? Because most of the time, it happens that we are trying to control, and but then suddenly we lose everything, and then we start shouting, or sometimes we may hit our child also. So how
So do what you do with your child. See what's happening, right? And okay your feeling first. We tremendously go into this cycle of guilt.
Sentence of yours, that okay your feelings as well. So that it is actually
you need to know that you are a human being, and when you accept that, your child is going to accept that they are a human being too. They're going to have these feelings, and frankly, it's good to have emotions and feel emotions in front of your child, because that is an opportunity to teach them how to deal with it. So if you're sad, if you're crying, don't hide it in front of your child, right? If you are angry, don't hide it. Don't make them your therapist. Don't go and try and put problems on them. But you need to tell them that, okay, mommy is sad, or mommy got really angry and she shouted, but she shouldn't have done that. We shouldn't shout when we are angry, and I am going to be more mindful about that. I'm just going to breathe. See? Right? Or I'm going to just count to 10. You want to help me count, right? So hold their hands, count together, count to 1 to 10, right? And ask them, okay, how do you want me to make it up to you? So do you want to go do this? Do you want to sit with mommy and read a book? Things like that. Have a moment where, because if you're shouting, if there's any damage done, bonding is going to kind of fix it. It's going to make it feel okay. So in this whole thing, you take accountability for your emotion. You're teaching your child how to deal with any emotion, right? You're also learning that if we do something, it's our responsibility to mend the relationship as well. So frankly, these moments we want to, so they're great for teaching your child as to what they need to do with their emotions.
Correct.
And the first thing is, let's just accept it's going to happen, right? Motherhood is messy. Raising children is going to be messy, right? There are going to be a lot of things you're going through, right? But at the end of the day, we want to, be able
actually, after, shouting at them, we actually feel very bad. And one day I started even crying that why did I shout at her? Because, and later when they smile, we actually have that guilt of shouting, and
because even when you yell at them, they still want to come and hug you, no? They want that comfort from you at the end of the day. Right. So make them, so let's teach our kids that it's okay to have feelings, Nowadays, I primarily do adult psychotherapy. So I deal with emotional behavioral issues with adults, and I see that this is something that they have experienced in childhood, that I want to stop being angry. We shouldn't have emotions, and that's a very wrong thing, right? I remember in one of the questions, I think one mother had asked as to how to teach about mental health or good mental health, in children since the beginning. And this is how, which is emotional education. Let's model how we should be coping with our emotions.
Correct.
Rather than not have them at all, because it's going to happen.
Instead of saying that, no, you can't be angry, you can't cry, you can't, shout, just tell them that it's okay, but setting a boundary as well for their behavior.
Yeah, this is how we do it, when this is how we cope with our emotions. When we feel angry, it's okay to go by yourself and like get angry for a little bit or something like that, but it's not okay to hit somebody, it's not okay to bite somebody. We don't do that, it hurts others. So it's something, and they're not going to learn it that one time. We're going to have to model it a lot of times till they finally learn it.
It needs patience a lot.
Yes. I think we should change the name from motherhood to patience. We should just call it becoming patient.
Okay. Now there is this interesting question that I came up with actually. That sometimes parents start telling the kid डराने लगते हैं कि they kind of instill a phobia, try to do that if you will not do this, there will be some monster who will come and take you. Do you want to do that? So finish your milk, like that. These kind of phobia parents try to kind of do with their kids. So
that's what we try and get them to do what we want them to do, right? Out of fear. Right. So the first thing is,
so many examples. You're not doing this, I'm calling police. Actually, my nephew, they were kind of that. I'm calling police, uncle. He'll take you away, and then he will actually do what they were saying. So I have seen this in my family.
So I think I'm completely against using fear as a motivation to get children to do anything, because this is going to make them more angry, because they are going to feel completely out of control, because police bhoot, ye jo hote hai, these they are completely out of their control. They can't even understand what that is, and they are going to want more control. So they are going to get more angry, they're going to get more aggressive, they're going to push back even more, right? Your child needs to feel safe. That's your primarily responsibility, right? And if you are going to make them do something out of fear, they're going to grow up needing much more control. So you are kind of setting up, you're making your own life more difficult. As and when they grow up, it's going to create a lot of problems. They're going to want to, for that need of safety. Children tend to have anxiety issues because of this. They grow up wanting more control, so they're going to have more behavior, which is, I want things a certain way. So if mom doesn't peel the banana a certain way, I'm going to have a meltdown, right? Because if I don't know things are happening a specific way, that makes me anxious, that makes me angry, and I'm going to act out. So more tantrums on our hands. So if we continue to do this, maybe immediately that moment your child will eat whatever it is that's in front of them. But this is creating way more problems in other areas as they grow up.
Because I have seen one more example that, to make that child sleep, they were saying that okay, now you have to be bhoot aane wala hai. So she will actually just lie down on the bed, close her eyes, and after some time she dozes off. But this is kind of this is not correct, I guess.
It isn't, because sleep needs to be about relaxation, and if your child is going to sleep in fear, right, that's going to create, she's going to wake up more often. Your brain, so we do this as adults also, that we are exhausted and we go to sleep, or we sleep because or we force our kids to sleep because they have to, right? We want to embrace that, in the long term, that may create more problems. Sleep has to be about relaxation. So if your child, if you do that before a child's bedtime, she's going to have bad associations, more problems as they grow up.
Okay, now there was one thing I read, that whenever your child is having a meltdown and you kind of start losing at that time, so just move away from your child, move away, just walk out from that room to some other room. So is it okay to leave your child alone while having tantrum?
Not at all. Not at all. You're going to prolong. So see, you're not going to be able to stop the tantrum. Think about it like a wave that is coming, right? You can't stop that wave. You can surf that wave. You can ride it. And that's what you need to do, right? So when you know that your child is having the tantrum, right? Let's say your child falls on the floor and doesn't get up, right? Sit there. Okay it, right? You are. And a lot of times we see that children do this more with their mother than anybody else, right?
Yes,
that is because you are their safe place, right? They are going to behave better outside rather than with you, primarily not because they disrespect you, but because you have given them a space to express their emotions, right? Now we want to learn, how to teach them, to guide them better. I would lie down with her at the same time, right? Looking at whatever she's looking. I would frankly be there for her, saying that, hey, even if you are having big emotions, I still love you and I am not abandoning you. If you leave the child and go, they're going to start to feel that they're going to start feeling a feeling of abandonment, right? And that's going to prolong the tantrum. They're going to cry more. So if we want to ride the wave and we want to reduce its intensity, we want to reduce its time, right? Then you need to be able to comfort your child at that point of time. And that doesn't mean hold them. That doesn't mean distract them. That means just being present, right? And saying that I know this feels really bad. I know if I were you, I'd feel bad too. I get it, right? And allowing them to feel that feeling and get it over with.
Sometimes, these kids start banging their head on the floor and, they will run here and there. What to do? Like that time you have to hold the child, right?
Yes. So when it comes to any behavior that is harmful, we want to hold that boundary and say that I'm really sorry, but I can't let you do this to yourself. I can't let you hurt yourself, which is why mommy is going to hold you right now. Okay. It's very important to communicate what you're doing and why you're doing to that child, right? That's how they're going to know, okay, mama is trying to protect me. Mama is not just trying to restrain me. She's not just trying to stop me. She's trying to protect me, right? And it may happen once. So you're anyways going to hold your child. Do it while communicating.
Correct. Okay. Now, there was a question which I wanted to ask that baby, one of the mom asked that baby was very happy and chirpy before, but as soon as she joined her job, full-time job, and the baby is 9 months, now the baby has gone silent. What kind of she is not understanding what is happening there because she has to go to her job and she has to leave the child behind. And what can she do for this?
Right. So there are many things. So when I hear this, there are many things that I do want to know. I want more information, like what is the setup in which, so is she at a daycare? Who is she leaving the child behind with? Does she see any other behavior that is not okay? So I would like to know a lot of more information. But usually the first thing I'd recommend to the mom is take a time off. Right? Take some time off and prepare your child. If we want to reduce tantrums for our children, right, especially toddlers, you have to prep them. You have to prepare them for something, right? Play with them, and playing is a great way to prepare. So a simple thing like getting her used to, so being in the same house and let's say going to another room where she's playing alone, right, with somebody else for say half an hour or 1 hour, right? Every day, as the child knows that, okay, mama goes at this time, but she comes back, right? So I'll just give you an example. When I started going to work, right, initially it was online, so which is why I used to go to a separate room, right? And I got into the habit of saying, hey, mama is going up, I have my session, so I'm going to go, right? And initially there used to be tears and like she used to still say bye-bye, but with tears. So initially there was a lot of crying, things like that. And then the day I had to leave for my clinic, I was so emotional, but she was completely fine. She was waving bye-bye. She thought this was fun. I play this game with mom where I say bye-bye and then she comes back, right? After a little time. So
mama's gonna come back.
Yeah. So the first is let the child know that this is not completely out of their control. So, this happens. So this is predictable. She goes, but she comes back, right? Do it over short periods, build it up. I would say I think we can always, we take so much efforts for our kids. We could take maybe a week off and build this up with our kids in a more controlled way. But I would also say that also check the surrounding, who is she leaving her kid behind with? How are things happening at home with respect to that? That is something I'd ask her to check it.
Baby cannot tell you that what is happening behind your back, but they can somehow express it.
Yeah, so that's what they say when they don't have. So that's why hitting and biting, we say that children don't know how to communicate through words, they communicate through their bodies, right? But that's communication, right? So we want to be able to understand.
Okay. Okay. Now, most of the topics and the questions are covered, and
Yeah.
there are few books that you were telling you will be recommending to us. So I'd love to know those.
Yes, so there are a couple of books that I want to refer. Like it's great information. There are a lot of resources with other things, but this is something we should kind of take on as well. One is called No Drama Discipline. It's by Daniel Siegel. This is very scientifically based, and they talk about how we can discipline our children through that. And there's another one which is called Between Parent and Child. It's a classic book. It's written by a child psychologist, and it is wonderful information on how we can communicate with our children.
Okay. So I'll be buying those soon, and I'll tell you how it goes.
Definitely.
Okay,
I will also send you the link so you can probably put it up in one of your stories or something.
Yeah, I'll share it in my stories for others to know. Okay. Some questions. Okay. Now this we also discussed that sleep training we'll be discussing because we have I guess less time.
Yeah.
Only 5 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes we have. So one of the question is, hey, can you please tell how to follow a sleep pattern? Because we discussed in chat about the training babies for sleeping, cried out method, which is actually you just said that when you are abandoning them, they are basically not connecting those things with you.
So I don't want to outright say this is good and this is bad, because the sleep training works for certain mothers. It works because, well, that's their need. They need to go to work. They need to go back to work earlier. So it works for some. But when I'm going to tell you my experience. So when I decided to go through it, I read a lot of information on this, and I decided not to go for it because that was not for me, right? I did take up a few things from it because I use it in my practice and I understand those concepts. So the first thing I did with Shambhavi was sleep wake cycles. So when there is day, all the lights in my house were on, and nighttime off. Right, so around 7:30 lights used to be off in my house. It kind of worked for me because it was like height of lockdown, right? We could control these things at our home, right? But main was the light, and if you don't have to do it in your whole house, if you have a separate room, if it's just your bedroom where you're with your child, you can do that there as well. The second thing I did was have a music that I conditioned for her sleep, right? So whether it is white noise, whether it is a music, now that music immediately is not going to work. It's going to work when after 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, जब conditioning हो गया है baby के लिए कि sleep this music. So वो music लगा दिया तो अभी sometimes it's easier for me. I just need to play that music and she relaxes and she goes to sleep. So I always rocked my baby. I always held her. So very recently she's having 4-5 baje wo uth jati hai, and somehow she just wants me to hold her and walk. And I still do it sometimes. She is a great sleeper. I have never had a problem throughout her night. She sleeps from I think 7 to 6:30 in the morning. She has a 1.5 hour 2 hour nap during the day, and she's dropped one night. She's dropped to one nap
all these things because this is happening right now with us.
Yeah, and so when we talk about sleep training, for me, it is like severing the bond or forcing your child to be independent before they have had time to attach or before they have had time to bond with each other, right? A secure attachment style. Attachment styles are very important, is one of the theories in psychology, in child psychology, and it talks about how grown-up people form attachment styles as children, and then they affect their relationships as adults, right? These strong, secure attachment styles happen when we respond to their needs. when we comfort them, we pick them up. I don't think children are supposed to be good sleepers, right? They
No, they
need
are not. But yes,
yeah.
at least these comforting things, they can actually have a better sleep.
Yes. So yes, follow a good sleep hygiene, follow a routine. That's a great thing to do. It doesn't have to be whatever the books recommend. The sleep routine can be whatever works for you as a mother, right? But have those few things you do for your child, as a routine. And I think that should be more than enough to set good sleeping habits as they grow up.
Correct. Okay, now we are almost done here with the time. So
Yeah.
if you guys have any other questions, you can ask in the comments. We'll try to answer those. Okay. Thank you, Kaehalee, for this live. This was really, really informative for me and for other moms as well. We still have so much of people live, because usually by the end of the half an hour or 1 hour live, people just go off thinking that it's gonna be
I'm
safe.
glad. It would be great if the moms gave us some feedback, or if they would like, some more information or anything like that. Because I think we are on this constant journey ahead. So we need to watch out for each other.
Correct. So if you guys have any other questions regarding your baby, you can have a one-on-one session with Dr. Kaehalee, and she has a website where you can book the slot for your what we say, Kaehalee.
The session, yeah. So if they want, they can either reach out to me on Instagram, or they can book a session and we can see how we want to go ahead. Or they can ask your questions and we can do this again if that's what they want to do.
We can do this again with some other questions as well, because I guess most of the questions you have answered so well that I am now kind of whatever all the other questions I was going through, I was like, it's already answered. We know about it now. So thank you so much for it.
Thank you for having me, and I hope this helped.